Our Chester historical scarecrows all came together to celebrate the 300th anniversary of Chester on Halloween before being put to bed for the winter. The fabulous birthday cake on Chester Street was the conception and creation of Lynn Rockwell. Lynn had volunteered to come up with a 300th scarecrow for the scarecrow season and thought of this humongous birthday cake. Doug and Ted Scott of Hillside Farm moved the hay bales into place with their tractor. Over 24 bales of hay were used. The plastic pom-poms served as the frosting florets, and the candles were made of plastic drain pipes. Like all good husbands, they are the wind beneath our wings, and here is Nate Rockwell helping construct the cake. Deborah Doda had the idea of the Swedish chef, and Lynn carried that out with perfection. The Muppets would be proud. Just look at the size of that frosting bag. On October 31st, Halloween Day, the creators of all the historical scarecrows got together for a photo shoot. This is Brigadier General John Zito. He passed away in 2016. John lived on Chester Street. You may have seen his scarecrow in front of his house. Melissa Rossetti Fallini created Tammy Grimes' scarecrow. Tammy Grimes passed away in October 30th, 2016. She was an actress who won 2 Tony Awards and owned a home in Chester. Tammy is buried in the Great Hill Cemetery in Chester. Melissa put a real scarf of Tammy Grimes around her neck for the photo shoot. And here is Kiki and Kevin Branley with their historic scarecrow, Isabel Fitz, who was the first librarian in Chester and ran the first library, which was in their home. She was born in 1863 and died in 1935 and is also buried in the Chester Village Cemetery. Here is Mike Fallini with his arm around Benjamin Brown French. Benjamin was born in Mike and Melissa's home in 1800. He was President Lincoln's confidant during the Civil War and stood beside President Lincoln at Gettysburg. His name is inscribed under President Lincoln's around the dome of the Capitol. This is why Lincoln is beside Benjamin on their front lawn. I created this drummer boy, which sits outside the village cemetery. He has no face because his story is so sad. His name was Willie Wilcombe from Chester. He was the youngest soldier, just 12 years old, to die from New Hampshire in the Civil War. Willie is buried in the village cemetery also. Here is Tim Bortz, who created Chief Justice Richardson, who owned Tim's home on Chester Street in the 1800s. Interestingly, it was Richardson's daughter that lived next door and married Benjamin Brown French, the other scarecrow, a couple of people down. Chief Justice Richardson died in 1838. Matt Stover has his hand on the shoulder of the eccentric Lord Timothy Dexter. Timothy Dexter owned Matt and Liz's home for 5 or 6 years. He offered to pave Chester Street with granite pavers if they would name the street Dexter Street instead of Chester Street, and Chester said no. He bought the house in Chester in 1796 and died in 1806. Carrie and Chris Haddock's home is called the Clockery. This scarecrow depicts Isaac Blaisdell, a famous clockmaker who owned their home. You can see an Isaac Blaisdell clock in the Chester Museum or in the Chester Library. Isaac Blaisdell died in 1791. If you would like to learn more about these famous people from Chester, Google Chester, New Hampshire Historical Society YouTube.